You begin life in a world that could kill you before sunrise. You did not begin in a city filled with lights. You did not begin with supermarkets, hospitals, highways, air conditioning, or a phone in your hand. Humanity began in a world that could kill you before sunrise. In that world, comfort did not exist. Each day brought hunger, cold, injury, darkness, and the fear of being left behind in a land with no map. A broken bone could end a life. A strange sound beyond the firelight could be the final warning before danger arrived. Every morning, your ancestors faced a choice that could decide whether the group survived. Stay in a familiar place where food and water were running out, or step into unknown land, where no one knew what was waiting ahead. That is where the human story truly begins. Not in the first cities or in the history books written much later, but in the moment when a small group of humans had to rely on memory, fire, and each other to survive one more day. Before civilization appeared, survival was already shaping the human mind. And that ancient part of the mind is still living inside you today. Today, you live in a world far safer than the one that created your brain. You wake up in an apartment with a locked door. Your phone sits right beside your bed. GPS gives you directions. Weather apps warn you before the rain comes. Grocery stores always have food. Hospitals, antibiotics, cars, refrigerators, air conditioning, and electric lights have made survival almost invisible. But your body does not always understand that. Danger no longer stands at the edge of the forest. It appears in a different form: rent, bills, unanswered emails, deadlines, packed meeting schedules, and the feeling that you are falling behind everyone else. You can live in a world that is always connected, but still feel lonely. You can sit in a safe room, but your heart still tightens, as if something is about to happen. You can know you are not truly in danger, but your body still prepares as if it has to run, defend itself, or find a way out. That is the paradox of modern humans. The life around you has changed very quickly. The brain inside has not. It was shaped in a time before cities, stores, clocks, roads, farms, or writing. Back then, darkness could hide predators. Being alone could cost you the protection of the group. Food was not waiting in a refrigerator. Water was not always nearby. A strange sound in the night could be the final warning. So when you feel anxious, empty, overly alert, or drawn to high-energy foods, it is not only a problem of modern life, it is the trace of a very ancient survival system, operating in a world that is too new. Your life is modern, but the alarm system inside you is ancient. So where did humans really come from? The simple answer usually begins with ancient Africa, Homo sapiens, fossils, genetics, and hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. But that answer only tells us where the story begins. The more important question is, what kind of world created humans like us? A harsh landscape shaped legs for long journeys, hands for tools, memory for paths without maps, and alert instincts for dangers that gave no warning. In that world, fear was not just an emotion, it was an alarm system. Hunger was not just discomfort, it decided who had enough strength to keep moving. Loneliness was not simply an empty feeling inside. Being separated from the group could mean losing your last layer of protection. So the origin of humans is not only found in bones or scientific names, it is found in the way a fragile creature learned to live inside danger. Your ancestors did not enter the ancient world with an obvious advantage. Their bodies had no armor, no claws, no superior speed, and no strength great enough to dominate the wild. If we judged only by muscle, they had almost no reason to become the species that would one day rule the planet. But humans had a different advantage. Memory helped them carry the lessons of the last season. Observation helped them read tracks on the ground, changes in the weather, and the reactions of the people beside them. Learning meant that each mistake did not disappear with one individual. Sharing turned private knowledge into the strength of the whole group. One person could lose the way, but a community could remember many paths. One individual could be injured, but the others could protect them long enough to survive. This is the central question of this video. How did a vulnerable species become one that could change the entire planet? The answer does not begin with strength. It begins with memory, cooperation, and the ability to learn together. Now, leave behind everything that makes you feel safe. The locked apartment, the phone beside your bed, GPS, stores, hospitals, and lights guiding you through the night. All of it disappears. In front of you is ancient Africa. Just before sunrise, The ground is cold beneath your feet. The sky is still dark, but the horizon has begun to fade. Near the weak remains of a fire, a few human figures quietly wake. No one rushes to speak. Here, sound can reveal everyone's location. Around them is a wide, dry, unpredictable land. Low grass lies flat in the wind. Scattered trees stretch into dark shapes across the ground. Fresh animal tracks sit near the sleeping place. Farther away, a cracked riverbed stands like a warning. There may not be enough water for today. A child watches the adults prepare. An older woman remembers where water was found last season. A hunter bends down to read the marks in the dirt. One hand quietly sharpens a worn stone edge. There is no map, only memory, experience, and the ability to notice small signals before it is too late. A broken branch, the smell of distant smoke, a slight shift in the wind, a shadow standing still for too long at the edge of the grassland. Each detail could be harmless. It could also be the reason to leave immediately. This is not a simple wilderness scene. This is the environment that forced the human brain to stay alert, compare, judge, and remember constantly. Knowledge was not kept in books. It lived in scars, habits, eye contact, gestures, and warnings passed down through generations. A prehistoric morning did not begin with peace. It began with a silent question. Is this land giving humans a chance today, or pushing them toward danger? Evolution did not happen because life was comfortable. It happened because safety kept disappearing. A dry season lasted longer than usual. The familiar water source slowly ran out. The animals that once passed through this land did not return. Fruit became harder to find. The nights grew colder, and unfamiliar tracks appeared near the place where the group slept. For your ancestors, this was not environmental change, the way we read about it in books. It was a life or death question right in front of them. Stay in a familiar place that could no longer keep them alive, or step into unknown land where every mistake could cost a life. Staying could lead to thirst, hunger, and exhaustion. Leaving meant unfamiliar plants, unknown animals, terrain no one had crossed before, no secure shelter, and no memory of a safe path. In that world, danger rarely gave a warning. A broken leg could turn a healthy person into someone left behind. A deep cut could quietly become an infection. The weakest child might not survive a cold night. A predator did not need to defeat the whole group. It only had to wait for someone to slow down. Survival was not one heroic moment. It lived in the small decisions repeated every day. Where to sleep, when to move, who to trust, what to eat, whether to stay silent or run, whether to share food or save it for family. Every choice reshaped the body. But the greatest pressure happened inside the brain. It had to remember where water had once been. It had to read tracks on the ground. It had to recognize tension on the face of the person beside them. It had to imagine what might happen before it was too late. That was when intelligence stopped being a beautiful gift. It became a tool for staying alive. The human mind was not born from comfort. It was forged by pressure. If survival belonged only to the strongest, humans should not have won. Their bodies had no thick armor to stop an attack, no claws sharp enough to tear into prey, no superior speed to escape every predator on the grasslands. In a land filled with large animals, darkness, and sudden danger, early humans looked more like a species that could disappear than one that would change the planet. But evolution does not only choose muscle, it chooses adaptability. Legs carried humans farther, across dry lands, along animal trails, toward new water sources, and into spaces they had to read before moving forward. Hands opened another advantage: gripping, shaping, carrying food, repairing objects, turning stone into tools. From a modern point of view, a sharp stone edge can look almost too simple. In the prehistoric world, it was survival technology. It helped cut meat, break bones, process plants, prepare animal hides, and create a small distance between humans and danger. Then, fire changed the night. That light warmed bodies, made food easier to digest, kept some animals away, and turned a resting place into a gathering point. Around the fire, humans did more than survive the cold. Children learned by watching. Adults passed experience through gestures, sounds, habits, and warnings. Old paths, water seasons, animal tracks, wind direction, the smell of smoke, all of it slowly became shared memory. Even so, the greatest advantage was not hidden in a stone edge. or a flame. It lived in coordination. One person could miss a sign of danger. Many eyes could see it sooner. One individual could be hungry, tired, injured, or lost. The group could share food, protect the weak, and carry experience into tomorrow. This was the real turning point. Humans did not need to be stronger than every species. They only needed to learn faster, remember longer, and cooperate better. The human advantage was never just strength. It was adaptation shared across the group. There is one image of evolution that almost everyone has seen. A small ape, then a hunched figure, then someone holding a tool. Finally, a modern human walking upright. That image is easy to remember, and it is also easy to misunderstand. It makes us think humans are the final step of a ladder, as if all of evolution has been climbing toward us. But the truth is not that neat. Humans did not evolve directly from the monkeys or apes living today. We, and modern primates, are more like different branches, growing from the same very ancient tree. Some branches disappeared, others existed at the same time. A few left descendants behind. Evolution has no final blueprint. It does not say, the goal is to create modern humans. It only responds to pressure. The environment changes. Bodies that fit better have a better chance to survive. Behaviors that help survival are more likely to be carried across generations. But the most dangerous misunderstanding is not about the evolutionary tree. It is about the way we judge prehistoric humans. Many people look at stone tools and assume they are signs of a simple mind. But simple tools do not mean simple minds. A stone blade is not just a sharp rock. It requires the maker to choose the right material, understand hand pressure, remember how to create a sharp edge, use it in the right situation, and pass that skill to someone else. That is observation. That is practice. That is memory. That is culture in its earliest form. Prehistoric humans did not have schools, books, or modern laboratories, but they had their own way of learning. Children watched adults work. Experience was passed around fires, beside rivers, inside caves, and across open land. Tracks, water seasons, food, danger, paths, all of it was kept inside the community before it was ever written down. So, civilization did not suddenly turn humans into intelligent beings. Civilization was built by minds that already knew how to observe, remember, cooperate, and learn long before that. The real story of human origins is not only a journey from weakness to strength, it goes deeper than that. It is the story of how a vulnerable species learned to turn experience into an advantage. Fossils show us bones. Tools show us how hands learn to shape the world. Footprints tell us that someone once crossed a specific piece of land. But the most important part of being human does not always leave traces in the ground. Fear does not fossilize. Memory does not stay perfectly preserved in stone. Trust between people who face danger together cannot be dug up like an ancient bone. And yet, those invisible things helped humans survive. A child needed adults for protection. An injured person needed the group to slow down. Someone hungry needed another person to share food. The young had to learn from the old before stepping into dangerous land on their own. In the prehistoric world, no one carried the whole answer alone. One person remembered where water had once been. Another recognized animal tracks. Someone understood the direction of the wind. A calmer person could keep the group from panicking. Small pieces of knowledge, placed together, became a new kind of power. This was the real turning point. Humans did not only have intelligence, they had shared intelligence. They did not only have personal memory, they created collective memory. They did not only survive one day at a time, they learned to carry the lessons of yesterday into tomorrow. Before civilization, survival had already shaped the human mind. And once experience could pass from one person to another, from one generation to the next, humanity entered a completely different path. Not the path of claws, speed, or muscle, but the path of learning, cooperation, and culture. This story does not end in the past. It is still happening inside you. You may live in a locked room, under electric lights, with a phone in your hand, and food only a few steps away. But sometimes, your body still reacts as if danger is very close. Your heart beats faster, your shoulders tense, your mind begins to imagine the worst, not because you are weak, but because the alarm system inside you was built by a world that was never truly safe. For your ancestors, detecting danger a few seconds earlier could make the difference between survival and disappearance. Today, the threat is usually no longer a predator in the darkness. It can be rent, bills, unanswered emails, deadlines, a packed work schedule, or the feeling that you are falling behind. The ancient brain does not always perfectly separate a stalking animal from an overloaded modern life. It only knows one thing: there is pressure, so it must react. That is why you can be safe and still feel anxious. Always connected, yet still lonely. Standing in front of a full refrigerator, yet still craving sugar, fat, and high-energy food. In the prehistoric world, loneliness was not just an emotion. Being separated from the group meant less protection, fewer warnings, and fewer chances to survive. High-energy food was once a rare advantage in a land that never guaranteed the next meal. Those instincts did not disappear just because the world now has supermarkets, fast food, and social media. They are still there, working underneath modern life. Even darkness carries an old memory. In a home today, darkness may only mean a room with the lights off. But to a brain shaped by thousands of generations of survival, night once meant weaker vision, suspicious sounds, and a group that had to stay closer together to remain safe. So when you feel restless, empty, overly alert, or desperate to belong, it is not only a problem of the present, it is the past, leaving traces inside the modern body. The life around you is very new, but the survival system inside you still remembers a much older world. Humans do not come from just one place. Science can take us back to ancient Africa, to fossils, genetic traces, stone tools, and hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. But that is only the part we can measure. The rest lives in what your ancestors had to learn in order not to disappear. They moved through dry seasons, cold nights, unfamiliar lands, and choices that could cost a life. Fear helped them stay alert. Hunger forced them to keep searching. Fire pulled tired bodies closer together. Memory preserved lessons that a single mistake could have paid for with someone's life. Over time, one truth became clear: no individual was strong enough to face the wild world alone. Real strength appeared when food was shared, children were protected, the injured were not left behind, and the experience of elders became the wealth of the group. That is why human origins do not end in a museum or a laboratory. They still appear in life today. A room may be locked, but the body can still feel anxious. A refrigerator may be full, but the brain still searches for quick energy. Social media can glow all day, and loneliness can still remain. In a world that is always connected, the need to belong still reaches the deepest part of you. To look back at human origins is also to look into yourself. Beneath modern life, there is still a very old survival system, shaped by darkness, hunger, loss, and the need to stay close. Cities came later. Books came later. Kingdoms, power, and civilization arrived much later too. Before all of that, humans learned to trust together, remember together, and survive together. Maybe the true origin of humanity is not found at one point on a map, and not in one fixed day in the past. It began when a fragile creature understood that survival was not only about fighting danger, it was about finding others to move through that danger with. From ancient firelight, the path toward the modern mind began that way. What your ancestors carried forward did not disappear. It is still reacting, craving, fearing, and searching for connection inside you today. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and see you in the next video.